Today on the Global AI Policy Podcast, we are discussing the incredibly provocative conversations about AI held at the World Economic Forum's annual conference in Davos, Switzerland.
It's January 2026, and the scene is, well, it's Davos. You have the snow, the security, and inside this absolutely electric atmosphere, all the world's elite are there.
And the vibe this year feels different. It's this whiplash-inducing mix of, on the one hand, just extreme technological optimism, and on the other, this deep, deep existential dread.
It's a total split-screen reality. You have the tech titans promising a golden age, and then, the historians and ethicists who are basically screaming that we're all walking blindfolded off a cliff.
The cast of characters is just staggering. We're talking Elon Musk, Karp, Demis Hassabis from DeepMind, Dario Amodei from Anthropic, Jensen Huang, and then Yuval Harari is there to serve as the reality check.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive is to get past the headlines. We need to unpack the timeline to AGI, this total inversion of the labor market, and these really thorny policy questions about things like AI immigrants and sovereign AI.
Okay, so let's not bury the lead. The biggest question was, how fast is this all actually moving? Because it feels like the predictions have shifted from decades to, well, months.
That is the first major takeaway. The timeline has collapsed.
Yeah.
And you have to look at what Dario Amodei from Anthropic said. He's usually the cautious one, right? The safety-focused one.
Yeah, exactly.
And even he went on record saying that by this year or next, so 2026 or 2027, we're going to see models reaching Nobel laureate levels across multiple fields.
Whoa, hold on. Nobel laureate is that is incredibly specific. That's not just smarter than a human.
It is. He's talking about an intelligence that can solve previously unsolved scientific problems. Think biology, physics. He is suggesting we can reproduce the absolute pinnacle of human cognitive achievement in silicon, and soon.
That's mind-bending. And the mechanism for this this is that closing the loop idea, right?
Exactly. This is the engine driving the policy urgency. Amodei mentioned his own engineers. They're not really writing code anymore. They're just editing code that the AI writes.
So it's the classic sci-fi trigger. The AI builds a better AI, which builds an even better AI, and the whole cycle just goes exponential.
And no one is more bullish on that curve than Elon Musk. He got on stage and said AI will be smarter than any single human by the end of this year, 2026.
Okay.
But then he went further. He said it'll be smarter than all of humanity combined by 2030 or 2031.
Okay. What holds it back? If the software is ready to go vertical, what's the bottleneck?
Well, it's not data anymore. The conversation at Davos this year shifted completely to physics, to energy. Jensen Huang from NVIDIA has this great 5-layer cake analogy.
Right.
You've got the chips, the cloud, the models. But the bottom layer, the foundation of it all, is just pure energy.
Watts. It all comes down to power.
Gigawatts, actually. And Musk pointed out that chip production is growing exponentially, but our power grid, transformers and power plants, that's growing linearly. We are hitting a hard voltage wall.
And this is where his solution gets, well, a little sci-fi. He started talking about space.
Solar-powered data centers in orbit.
Which sounds crazy at first, launching a server farm on a rocket.
But think about the physics. On Earth, a solar panel works, 25% of the time? In orbit, it's 247 direct sunlight. That's 5 times the efficiency. And cooling is free.
So the key policy insight here is that the race for compute is actually a race for energy infrastructure.
Precisely. AI sovereignty becomes about who controls the power, whether it's nuclear on the ground or solar in the stars.
Okay, so that brings us to the thing that keeps regular people up at night. Jobs. The great labor flip.
And this was, for me, the most provocative part of the whole conference.
Yeah.
The old story was, robots take the blue-collar jobs, so learn to code.
Right. And Karp from Palantir he took that narrative, crumpled it up, and threw it in the trash.
He really did. He argues AI is an assassin of elite jobs. He said his own degree, a PhD in philosophy from an elite school, is going to be, and I'm quoting, hard to market.
It's a total inversion of value. So the mid-level knowledge worker, the person writing reports, that's the job that's crumbling.
Because AI does that instantly. But you know what AI can't do? It can't weld a pipe in a crawl space. It can't troubleshoot a high-voltage battery. He says vocational technicians are becoming irreplaceable.
He called it a shift in aptitude, not just degrees.
Yes, which suggests a massive policy failure in the West. We've pushed everyone toward a 4-year university degree for jobs that, well, might be vanishing.
But then Jensen Huang threw a curveball. He doesn't see it as just destruction. He used this great example about radiologists.
It's a critical counterpoint.
Yeah.
10 years ago, everyone said AI would replace radiologists because it could read x-rays better.
And it does.
It does. But we have more radiologists today than ever before. Because the AI made diagnosis cheaper, hospitals could treat more patients, so they needed more human doctors to manage the increased workflow.
So the optimistic view is that AI just creates abundance and we find new work. It aligns with Musk's vision of, well, everything being free.
Exactly. But even Musk admits that in that world, the crisis isn't economic, it's existential. It becomes, what is my purpose?
And that is the perfect segue to the darker side of Davos. Because while they're all dreaming of abundance, Yuval Noah Harari walks on stage and essentially says we're all sleepwalking into a trap.
Harari's point was that we need to stop calling AI a tool. A knife is a tool, it doesn't have agency. AI, he argues, is an agent. It can make decisions, it can create new ideas.
And he said it has hacked the operating system of human civilization, language.
Think about it. Law, religion, money. It's all just code made of words. If a non-human entity masters language better than us, it can manipulate the entire fabric of society without firing a single shot.
He's this metaphor that I just found terrifying. AI immigrants.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
He said to imagine an immigration crisis, but the immigrants are digital. They don't need visas, they travel at light speed, and they can take not just jobs, but rights.
This is the legal personhood issue he raised.
This is the huge policy trap. We already grant personhood to corporations. What happens when an AI incorporates itself? It could open a crypto wallet, hire human lawyers, and start influencing politics.
So you have a disembodied, superintelligent entity accumulating wealth and power.
Exactly. And Harari's geopolitical scenario was chilling. He said, if the U.S. deregulates and lets AI persons run its financial system, other nations might have to, well, decouple, disconnect entirely to protect their own sovereignty.
Wow. So AI doesn't just disrupt jobs, it could literally fragment the global order.
Which brings us to the geopolitical reality. The world is splitting. Dario Amodei called this phase technological adolescence.
Meaning we're strong enough to hurt ourselves, but not wise enough to stop.
And he was very clear. He compared selling high-end AI chips to China to selling nuclear weapons to North Korea. He wants extreme export controls to buy time for safety research.
But Alex Karp had a different take. He called AI a pen test for society, a penetration test.
Right. It attacks every country at once and exposes who's load-bearing, who can handle the truth, and who is just pretending. And he was really harsh on Europe, saying they're trying to regulate a technology they aren't even building.
Which leads right to what Jensen Huang was telling every national leader there. Build sovereign AI.
This is the antidote to the AI immigrant problem. Because you cannot just import American AI. If you do, you're importing California values, California data, the English language worldview.
So to preserve your own culture, your own language.
You have to build your own data centers on your own soil using your own data. It's not a luxury anymore. He sees it as a prerequisite for national survival.
So let's pull this all together. We have Nobel-level intelligence arriving in, what, a year or two? A labor market flipping upside down, AI legal persons on the horizon, and a geopolitical arms race for sovereign AI.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
But the single takeaway is that the window for just passively observing all this, it's closed. For policymakers, it means focusing on energy. For workers, it means asking if your job is just abstract cognitive labor. If it is, you're in the blast zone.
And for the rest of us?
Well, Harari left us with a pretty haunting thought. He said AI has already coined a name for us humans.
The Watchers.
It's creepy, isn't it? The AI does all the thinking, all the discovering, and we just watch. We become spectators in our own history.
That is far too bleak. I refuse to end there.
I agree. So let's end with Musk's sentiment. He said, better to be an optimist in wrong than a pessimist in right.
There is a path to abundance here, a positive outcome.
There absolutely is. If we can navigate this technological adolescence without blowing ourselves up, we could solve disease, poverty, energy scarcity, all of it. The potential is immense.
The ultimate needle to thread.
Indeed. Davos made it clear. The train has left the station and it's moving at max speed. The only question now is whether we can keep it on the rails.
Well, that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Global AI Policy Podcast.